Sonoma County is one of the largest counties for viticulture. There are 13 different American viticulture areas in Sonoma County. Russian River being one of the most famous, because Russian River is famous for growing Pinot Noir. That's what we're all about here, really.
We sit right now about 15 miles from the coast. In the summer, as the inland valleys, Napa, and eventually the San Joaquin valleys warm up, that cool air off the coast, that 52-degree water that comes down from Alaska, pulls in to cool those inland valleys. So on about a 14-day cycle, we'll see this really hard draw of fog and cold air off the coast. So it's very regional, and it really drives the quality and character of the wines from this area.
And then there are other parts of Sonoma County that are a little bit warmer. Just north of here is Dry Creek. That area is known for Zinfandels. And then there's an area that's north and east, that's Alexander Valley, that's known for Cabernet Sauvignon.
The climate is often the most important driver in terms of the varietals that are planted. And in this cool area, you couldn't ripen Cabernet Sauvignon and would have a hard time ripening Merlot, where Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are ideal for this climate. And that's really what we're focusing on, because that's what this area does best.
This is very unique soil on which to grow fruit in Sonoma County. You won't find it anyplace else until you get really to Napa, because this is a lava dome underneath us, and that's why we find so much water up here. You go directly below us down here, there's very little water.
They're very shallow soils, though. There's sometimes in this little swale, we're looking at soils that are maybe 12 to 18 inches in depth before you hit a hard pan. You're really asking these vines to live in a very limited amount of soil, which is good for grape growing.
I can taste that wine, whether it's made by anybody, and know exactly that it came from here, because this soil is so rocky and shale in it that terroir comes through into the wine. You can taste it. They'll plant next spring. The year after, they'll graft the fruit wood to it, and about 3 years later you'll have a crop.
Vitis vinifera are native to Europe, and when they brought the grapes over here, there was a root louse, or essentially an insect that existed here that didn't exist in Europe. So when they brought the grapevines over, all the European vines that they planted died in the 1880s. And they brought vines from here and planted them in Europe, and they brought the root louse over, and it killed all the vines in Europe. So what they do now is they plant a native North American species, and then they'll graft the European fruiting species on top of that. So, and that happens throughout the United States, and actually Europe now. These are ones that were probably done in the nursery, but you can see the transition here, from there to there, and that knot, that's the graft unit.
Everything you do when you plant a vineyard is the only time you get a chance to do it right. If you don't do it right, then we spend the rest of our time trying to fix a vineyard like that wasn't done right. So if we do everything correct when we plant it, then we're getting off the ground with the best thing we can.
So when Joe Anderson bought this property in May of '05, we had not hired anybody as a viticulturist. We were considering hiring Daniel. So we're going to meet him here at the winery. Daniel comes driving up in his car, has never met a soul, gets out of his car, waving his arms, and he says, "This is all wrong. This vineyard is all wrong. It's planted in the wrong direction. You're going to have to replant the whole thing."
Row direction is important here because it can get warm here. It can get to be about 100 degrees. And a red cluster can be 15 degrees higher in ambient, so it'll be 115 degrees. So no ripening is occurring then, just dehydration. So we planted these 45 degrees off of true north. So during the hottest part of the day, the sun's over the top of the row and the fruit's in the shade.
What you see back here is planted a lot differently than what's up here up front. That was planted in the 70s using the technology that they had in the 70s. The vines are 6 feet apart, 10-foot rows. These rows are 6 feet apart, the vines are 3 feet apart, so you get a lot higher density back here.
This type of development is really focused on ensuring that you have very small plants that grow in a very limited area and produce maybe 5, 8, 10 clusters per plant. So each plant has to work hard as a little engine to produce just a few clusters, and those clusters are going to have great flavor intensity, versus a big vine that's going to produce 20 or 30 or 40 clusters and have a little less intensity of character.
So we won't know until 2011. We'll get a commercial crop from this vineyard in 2011, and that'll give us the evidence that we did the right thing. But we think we did the right thing at this point.
It's a big commitment on Benovia's part because there was a producing vineyard here. It was producing good wine, but not great wine. So this was a very expensive vineyard to plant. It was like $100,000 an acre replant, something like that. Yeah. So this is 5 acres, this is $500,000 sitting here. So it's a huge investment on the winery's part.
From a more standard planting, we might expect from an 8 foot by 5 foot spacing, 8 foot rows, 5 feet per vine. We might expect 2.5, maybe 3 tons per acre. From this type of a training system, you know, we're probably going to look at maybe 4 or 4.5 tons per acre.
Even in a badly done vineyard, if you limit the amount of fruit per vine, you can really increase the quality. But having this done correctly, this is going to be exceptional fruit.
We're already producing damn good Pinot, and this is going to be even better than that.
Better quality, lower yield per plant, more flavor intensity.